3, 2, 1, go.
So we're on the next one. Barry Bovver, the dad who was not the brightest spark.
It's funny.
Most dads aren't. So that means it's a bit
Thick.
Barry Bovver. To say Barry Bovver looked like King Kong would be unkind to King Kong. This beast of a man had a cauliflower ear. Again, this is unkind to cauliflowers. Arms thicker than tree trunks. A super wide neck. Actually wider than his head. Feet the size of ironing boards. Thighs bursting out of his jeans. Stubble as rough as sandpaper. A toothless smile. A broken nose and a buzz cut. But his brain was the size of a ping pong ball, which is pretty tiny. Whenever he was called upon to use it, such as when asked to spell his own name, he would cry, "My brain hurts!"
I know how to say it. My brain hurts!
Fortunately, most of the time, Barry Bovver didn't have to use his brain. That's because his job was all about how big his muscles were. Barry was a strongman. He competed with other strongmen all over the country to see who was the strongest strongman of them all. In these contests, strongmen would lift a double-decker bus above their heads, eat a tank, burp, flip a fire engine over, smash, do a tug of war with an aeroplane as it tries to take off, wrestle a rhinoceros, perform a squat lift holding a walrus.
How bad is that?
Do staring competition with a hamster. That doesn't sound actually anything. No. Pull a tree out of the ground. Yank. Run a race with a fridge freezer strapped to their back. Snap a train carriage in half.
Did you know that hamsters don't actually blink that often? They really don't normally blink. That's why they've done that's why it says do a scaring competition.
I did not know that, Joe. Just like Barry, all the other famous strongmen looked as if they'd been inflated. There was Mickey Mike, famous for competing in only a pair of very tight red underpants. Ooh, that's quite disturbing.
I mean...
Chaz Carnage, he ate shark for breakfast.
Nice.
Vince Vicious, legend has it he once headbutted a house and the house crumbled to the ground. Mongo Muscle, he only worked out his top part, so he had the biggest chest and arms and the smallest, spindliest legs. There he is.
I'm going to zoom in. Nice.
The Ogre, he only spoke in grunts from both ends.
That's disgusting.
Pete Punch, he could punch a hole in concrete and often would. Oh, there's more. Gunter Girth, he was so wide he couldn't fit through any door. Dick Dents, famous for being the cleverest of the strongmen, as he once got a C in pottery. Thunder Thump, his fists were bigger than his head. And the one strong woman, Cloris Clout. She was the most terrifying of them all. Cloris could lift all the strong men with one hand and an elephant in the other. Whenever Barry entered one of those strongmen competitions, which happened most weekends at fun fairs and in pub car parks, his family had to come too. His wife, Bianca, and their daughter Brian. I know what you're thinking. Who would call their daughter Brian? Barry Bovver. That's who. The man didn't realise that Brian was a boy's name. My brain hurts, he exclaimed whenever anyone asked him about this. Needless to say, it was hard being a girl named Brian. And nothing was as hard as having Barry Bovver for a father. If the family went for a picnic and were sitting in the shade, Dad would rip up the tree and move it somewhere else. When Mum served up an entire roast hog for Sunday lunch, Dad would eat the whole thing in one gulp. And there wasn't any room in the supermarket. When there wasn't any room in the supermarket car park, Dad would free up a space by lifting a parked car and placing it right on top of another. Crunch. When the school bus left one morning without his daughter, Dad yanked it back to the bus stop. Once Dad leaped onto a bouncy castle at Brian's birthday party, and all the children were bounced miles into the air. Whoosh!
Did they die?
Didn't say. If Brian got low marks in a test, Dad would storm into school and swing the teacher around by his ankles until his daughter was made top of the class. Whenever Barry went to the loo, he yanked the chain on the toilet so hard that he would bring the bathroom ceiling down with it. When Father Christmas didn't give Brian a nice enough present, Barry Bovver lifted up the grotto complete with Father Christmas's reindeer and elves high into the air until he did. If there was no food in the house, Dad might pull a brick out of the wall and snack on it.
What does that mean?
Eat it. Christmas dinner was always an ordeal, as poor Granny would be yanked across the room and fly out the window if she dared to pull a cracker with her son. Ah! Crash! Sadly, Barry Bovver was not the brightest spark, so Brian soon learned it was best not to tell her father when something went wrong, or he was likely to respond not with brains but with brute force. One afternoon, the girl returned home from school in floods of tears. "Brian, my darling!" exclaimed her mother. "What's the matter?" Before she spoke, the girl looked through the kitchen window into their little garden. There she could see her father weightlifting. He had a long
see the picture, it's really good.
Oh, right, yeah.
What do you mean?
I've forgotten where I got to. Sorry, before she spoke, the girl looked through the kitchen window into her little garden. There she could see her father weightlifting. He had a long metal pole with a caravan on each end. Barry was pushing him up and down as he counted his repetitions. 1,005,000, 1,006,000. It was safe. He couldn't hear. So the girl continued. "Oh, Mum, it was the headmistress. She accused me of cheating in the exam." "Did you?" asked Mum. "Of course not," exclaimed the girl. "It was this boy, Swifty Swindle, who cheated by copying me. He's always doing that and getting away with it. That's awful. I need to have a word with that woman." "If you could, Mum," said the girl, dabbing her eyes, "but promise you won't tell Dad." Before Mum had a chance to answer, a huge face loomed in the kitchen window. "Don't tell your dad what?" It was Barry Bovver, and judging by his expression, he was in a bother. "Oh, nothing, Dad," lied his daughter. "Go back to weightlifting, Barry," urged his wife. "You've still got another 1,000,000 reps to go." But Barry was not giving up. Not going to give this up. "Someone's upset my little princess. Brian, tell me, who done this?" "Brian, don't tell him it was the headmistress," blurted Bianca. Mum was not the brightest spark either.
Look at the pictures, that's pretty creepy.
I know. Sorry, it's there.
Just zooming in, right? Big view of her, very creepy.
Yeah. "Mum," exclaimed Brian, "you've gone and done it now." "Sorry, love," she muttered. "I'm going to give that headmistress a piece of my mind," Barry declared, stomping into the kitchen.
It's probably not good.
"Dad, no!" exclaimed Brian, holding on to one of his arms. "Barry, please!" exclaimed Bianca, holding on to one of his legs. The beast kept on striding forward. There was nothing that could hold Barry back.
This is where I got up to.
Was a man on a mission. He didn't have time to go through the doors. Doors are for wimps, so instead Barry Bovver walked straight through the wall. Crunch, boom. Dust and debris exploded everywhere in the front wall of the house, tumbled into the ground. Brian and her mother were left coughing and spluttering as Barry powered on through the dust cloud and down the street. Any parked cars that were in his way got flipped over onto their side. A cement mixer was tossed over his head into some poor person's front garden. Dunch. They received a brand new driveway whether they wanted it or not. A rubbish truck coming down the road was headbutted, bash, and whizzed backwards. There was no stopping Barry Bovver. In no time, the brute had reached his destination. He stood in front of the huge building and took a deep breath. Barry stomped up the stone steps and stretched out his long arm between the columns that held the building up. And then, with all his might, he pushed them asunder. Crunch. And we'll find out tomorrow what happens.
Sorry, I'm not holding the camera right. I'll flip. make sure to not miss out on part 2 of Barry Bovver. And someone was walking over there. I'm not sure if you saw them, but someone was walking over there, and if you did see them, well, you saw them. Well, anyways, bye!